posting it on Facebook, and just gonna do the same thing over there.
Awesome.
Here we are, and with that said, yes, this is Thamichaelated Unplugged, very special. We're doing something unbelievable. I have no idea, but it's happening. But before we're gonna dive into this, I have a very special guest here tonight. Yes, she's already with me. I would like to introduce the video sponsor of this show tonight, Thamichaelated Unplugged. Here in the wedding dress, this is Unveiled Bridal Boutique. Yes, unveiledboutique.com. You can go now, shop, lookbook, check it out. They do it all. It's all on sale, unfortunately, but maybe lucky for you, they are going out of business, and this is what it is. There has been peace made with that decision. The owners are doing what they are doing, and you can take advantage of that. The team is still there. They're having a lot of experience, and there is still, this dress is going away on Saturday. And that's it. Then it's out of the studio. That's happening. So right now it's still here. Very special. Unveiledboutique.com. Go now. Check it out. And follow them on social media because they give you certain time slots. They pop up. Also, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Brand Hackberg, your RBC Bank of Canada mortgage specialist. Yes! He is the man. He is. He has this new tagline. I love it. Why rent? Call Brent. It's good. 2517251. I cannot believe it. It's so good. Brent Hackberg, over 10 years of experience right here in Thunder Bay. He makes dreams come true. Get pre-approved if you're thinking about buying. If you are thinking about anything financial, he's there too. Moving your mortgage over to another bank, from another bank to the RBC. He does that. He does that all. Investment properties, just another one. Yes, he does that too. Brent Hackberg. Why rent if you can call Brent? 2517251. Also, this episode of the podcast brought to you by Eat Local Pizza. Eat Local Pizza is back tonight. Yes, my freezer is fully stocked to the top. I've counted them. Hypothetically, I would be able to fit 32 pizzas. So, should I do it? Should I not? I am not sure, but I am thinking maybe I should.
I agree.
I made a joke the other day because we have a lot of politicians in town recently. This week, today, Monday, and I was thinking, I do a debate with this one guy and the other guy, bring them in the studio, and then there's 12 bodyguards. Then I need 32 pizzas, and I would get them from Eat Local Pizza. That's what I would do. 767-0000. Call now. Eat Local Pizza. Best of the best. Walleye Proof 2020. Also, this episode of the podcast brought to you by Raphael's Tailoring. Yes, for those cut from a different class. He's on 905 Tungsten. Beautiful location, easy parking, so accessible. He has a retail store. It's all there. And he makes customizable suits. Yes, he does. Those jackets, you can pick the inner lining. You can pick if you want 2 pockets, 1 pocket, whatever you want, however you want it cut. He does that right here in town. It's just like an old tailor in New York City. Raphael, he's right here in Thunder Bay, and he gets it done for everybody here. And with his team, he does that. Raphael's tailoring for those cut from a different kind of class. Call now. 4760669. With that said, on my side here, let me cut this over here. This is the Thamichaelated Unplugged episode 139 tonight. Very special guest here with me, the one and only folks. Please give it up to Kyla Quinn.
Speaking of clapping, good intros for all those businesses. As a also local fan of businesses, you're one of the best advertisers.
Ooh, I can see you have a beautiful t-shirt on. This is nice. This is the goat of Babylon with the crown, the golden city.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I actually got to help them design this. This is one of the many things that I actually do is graphic design. I actually got to teach graphic design for 3 years at Confederation College. So it's actually one of my passions is to find local businesses and make sure that their voice, their brand, their entity represents them in a way that really suits them. Like you and the way that you presented each of your ads is very amazing because each one had a little bit of an extra personality, the background story, and it's fantastic. I appreciate that a lot. You are a fantastic hero champion for our city. So not only now do I want that wedding dress, a whole bunch of pizzas, but I want like a custom suit and my house be, signed by Brent. So look at you going.
251 7251. That's happening. Thank you. I really am happy tonight you're here with me. Just to give a quick heads up, tonight we discussed this pre-show. You are doing a live stream. I'm doing a live stream. I'm on Twitch right now with you on your channel.
Ta-da.
I'm here with me and you right now on my channel. What is happening?
This is actually part of what I've been working on, is the idea of a community broadcasting hub where we support each other for what we love to do and what we've been working very hard on, because I've been watching you for a while now. Both you and your partner, I think, are some of the most amazing local creators. And I started a community-centric co-working cafe called Outlet Powered back in 2012. Actually, Eat Local Pizza was like my pizza person back in those days too. We started Gallery 33 with, it was a bunch of local youth, and also the Painted Turtle Women. They're outstanding. That's another outstanding business.
You know what I thought recently on that? I really liked when, and I don't want to judge that, but I really liked when they were right downtown.
That's where we started, was Gallery 33, right downtown. And then I got to sell it to Hannah Johnson, and now it's with Kristen. And again, all three of us were, I think, under the age of 25 when we had that art gallery. So, youth in business. I didn't do nothing. I tried to do too much, and that's kind of why I'm doing a new remix version with Neona, was because I found out that I got really sick from doing too much, and a lot of our amazing humans think that they're machines. And as far as I know, the nanobots haven't taken over yet. Might be soon, who knows? We might be terminatoring ourselves. It'd be great. But until then, oh my god, what was on your couch thing? Was that an instrument?
We have, let me switch this back. We have, the guitar you can't see is behind the booth.
No, but that looks like a gun.
It's a Fortnite sniper rifle.
What?
This is what we do sometimes in the basement to, break the ice. When we go back in person, we snipe around in the basement.
That's genius and great fun. So another thing is gamifying life is really important to me. So how does a person get better? So I was in school for 9 years, and then I taught school for 3 years, and then I went back. When I went out of all that, I just started teaching myself, and I tried to figure out how the heck to get a person in line with themselves. And since you've been doing this, I'm sure that you've kind of figured out your own flow state. But until you find a passion, it's really hard to get that up and going and regular. And for me, scheduling. How do you schedule? That's my favorite new question right now, is how do you schedule? How do you make your days regular and functional? Do you have a secret for that yet? Do you just do it?
Hard work.
Hard work. So that's actually usually what it is. A lot of people are like, I want to get this motivation. I want to get this willpower. But those two words are almost lies. It's actually dedication, consistency, and it's the routine, the routinization of these behaviors that get us to actually get up and go. Because there's this.
I don't know what it is, I feel like there's people who drive on habits.
Yep.
You fall into a habit and that's good, and then you're like, cool. Like I would be like shit because then it's the same.
Yeah.
I like when you can see it changes.
But even with habits, there is always what's called flow state. Flow state is when we get into the groove, if you will. It's often seen in music or in, Soul? You see it really well expressed in Soul, that new Pixar film, where people get into the flow state groove of music, of exercise, of whatever, and their soul lights up and time disappears. And that's a really beautiful thing to manifest in a person's body, even if time will just dissipate and you go into the void. But it's where we find our soul. It's where we find our ourselves and capabilities, and we get to inspire others usually from that space too. And that's why I find that you are so inspirational, because when you get right turned and excitable and, you know, joking with your guests, that seems to be, at least, I could be wrong, but that seems like it's like a good flow state for you. And I just love watching, again, creators, especially locals, come to life inside themselves, because we got nowhere else to go but be, you know, fully embodied. So that's one of the things that I love working with Neona. Actually, Neona means new moon. So new moon, as in, I like to, you know, light people up with their happiness, with their confidence, and illuminate the path before them so they can take the next best step forward in confidence. I'm not going to tell anyone what to do. I'm not going to, you know, give them a very specific plan or workbook or habit schedule or anything like that. What I love to use is what's called motivational interviewing. It's one of the most recommended behavior sets in therapy. It's kind of like dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT, or CBT, the cognitive behavior therapy. And all it is asking someone questions, kind of like what you do with the interviewing, and finding out their inner motivations and why. And that alone, in tandem with, Gottman research says there's a magic ratio between positive and negative critique. And it's really heavy. Have you heard of the sandwich method before?
I like cheese and ham on a sandwich.
That's a great method as well. Picking toppings, for sure. However, the sandwich method is for criticism, where you take the bread of, you have substance, and then you put the meat of the criticism in there. It's like, but you need to work on this. And then you bookend it again.
Ketchup.
Whatever meats and condiments goes in it, but you have to bookend it with that bread, that fluffy holding, so that people can take a good bite into that sandwich. Because otherwise, like an open-faced sandwich, you might need to involve other tools like a fork and a knife, and that's a little bit burdensome when you want to kind of get it into your face. Yeah, like really for me, bread is just a vessel to get cheese in my mouth. Yes. So, yeah. Really.
Toasted or not toasted?
It depends on my energy level. With when I was mentioning back in 2012 with Outlet, I had to take a lot of hard looks at what I was capable of, and that was one of the things that changed a lot, was my expectations of food consumption, my expectations of preparatory behaviors, my expectations of self. Like sometimes I'm just gonna take a piece of meat and a piece of cheese and just shove it in my maw and call that a sandwich that day, because that's a little bit easier. And once you celebrate successes in the minutia, you get more successes. There's something called reward prediction error, where we think that once we do the thing, we're going to get this magical wash of brain happy juice that says, oh my God, I'm so great, I did the thing. Turns out that is a lie. It's an unfortunate lie. Yeah, because have you ever, worked so hard on a gigantic project, finally did it, and you felt this sense of disease, or like this unhappiness almost? Like I was working so hard for this goal, and then I got the goal, but I thought my whole world was going to change.
It's like when you're building this Lego car, and the best part of building a Lego car is building it, and then afterwards it's done.
Exactly that. Yeah, so that's why some people should take those gigantic, 5,000 piece sets, because with each build session, you're going to get more I think it's serotonin. I just call them happy brain juice. Happy brain juice will release more frequently when you celebrate any success. So that's why gratitude journals and stuff are so functional, because the Gottman research says it's 5.6 positives. 5.6. That's a whole fistful plus a spit of positives to any one negative. That's disgustingly heavy. So when I was talking about that compliment sandwich, each piece of bread is 3 freaking compliments before you get to the meat and the cheese and the ketchup or whatever the heck you're going to put in that sandwich. That's a heavy bread sandwich. I'm going to tell you that, especially when you're trying to apply it directly to your own forehead. So having...
I got a huge forehead too.
Oh my God. See like I try to use the bangs to cover it, but then I just get bangs in my view.
Like...
I know. It's hard days.
You can order a Big Mac with no meat.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and you can actually get it with lettuce. You can just tell them to put lettuce on the top and the bottom too.
Yeah, you try it?
No.
Okay.
No, but I appreciate. There's also what the McDonald's, the McGangbang. I can't remember what it's made like, but like.
Oh, somebody talk to me about that.
Right?
It's chicken and Big Mac or something. Who did talk to me about this?
I don't know why people do things, but I'm always proud of them. So that's actually one of the biggest things is, so knowing this Gottman research, knowing the gamification needs, knowing that human capabilities are ever in flux, I was trying to figure out how to, I guess, live a life without as much self-judgment. And yeah, it came with like the gamification of skill sets. And it actually has helped me a lot. Over the years, I went from being 337 pounds to being whatever the heck I am now, probably around 200 still. That's 140 pounds that I've dropped. And now I'm working on, other consistency parts. Like, how do I gain strength? Because when a person loses all that weight, visually, we look so much better. Right? Because there's all that weight dropped. But how few people realize is that even though I might have lost that weight, my structure was off kilter. I had no strength. I had no stability. I had no competency. And then I actually started to faint. And I found out recently that I might even been having seizures. So I have something called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is kind of cool because I have this hypermobility, flexibility thing.
You're flexible.
I can do weird tricks that some people find strange.
Can you roll your tongue?
What?
Can you roll your tongue?
I don't know what that even. Maybe. I haven't done it. Mine just kind of like wrinkles.
Some people can't do it.
I don't think I can do it. I've never actually been able to do it before. But I'm more or less just like, my joints are hypermobile and flexible, so I might be a contortionist if I figure out how to do it properly. But till then, it's still exploring the self, and I find that a lot of people avoid the self more than they explore the self, and that's kind of what I've been trying to work with.
It's easier to look on the outside than in the inside.
And if you realize that everyone you approach is a mirror, and if you respond, we're all kind of like projectionists in a way too, right? Because we only speak from our truth, our feelings of truth.
You never see yourself.
You never ever see yourself. Yeah, and even that's really limited because our brains edit a lot of stuff out. Because you do always see your nose, but do you realize that you see your nose all the time, every day? No, we have selective viewing. We're like, no, there's no nose.
Only when my beard hair is like way up, then I'm like, shit, my nose again.
Oh, so it activates awareness. That's really cool. Because it's those that new bit, it brings your attention to the old bit. And that's kind of like what meeting people is like. Where you're going to meet this new bit of person, and you're dealing with this old bitch of person, in my case, and then this new person will activate something inside you. Either it might be this sense of endearment, or this sense of repulsion. So...
Why is that? Why do some people just don't like you? Not you in particular.
No, I get it.
Me, right?
Everyone.
I've been in situations where I meet a person for the first time and say, hi, how you doing? And I'm usually like I'm pretty open and nice, and then that's it. I'm just like, okay, cool. That can be protective. I understand that. Like somebody is like, they actually, this place is very, for me now I would say, oh shit, very protective. But also, it could, but like, it could also be like, I just don't like you. Why is that? Is that like instant? Is that like smell and we don't smell?
Oh, that's pheromonal. It could be the pheromones. It could be that, for me, people I find don't like me because I'm invasive. I'm loud. I come in screaming like a pterodactyl sometimes, and I don't really control that. I wish I did so I could be more gentle on others. That would be something that I would really like. I'm trying to work on, stability and grace. Yeah, like I set my expectations low of self just to be realistic. But sometimes you trigger something in them that they are not comfortable with, right? So that could be living out loud. It could be because their parents told them to not be like you. So you behaving in that manner makes them instantly go, oh my God, I need to separate from this person, because what if I become like it?
That's subconsciousness.
Self-conscious, yeah, or they just don't like it.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like puzzles just fall into place in this.
Yes.
If you're not aware of it, then it might seem like you have no control over it in a way, but you actually do.
Yes, for sure. And that's one of the coolest things is, I've been saying it like I reject your reality and I substitute my own, which is a very strange way to say it. But I understand that everyone's going to have their own reality, their own perspective, their own engagement, their own past, their own future. And their perspective of me, unfortunately, isn't anything I get to control, because I haven't babysat them their whole lives. And even with me, with myself, sometimes I have a hard time accepting myself. So for them to have a hard time with it, I usually understand. I say, thank you, sorry, you're great, I appreciate you, I'm glad to see that you're in existence, and I cannot wait to see you continually get better. Because my belief is, it comes from another research study where they took 12 people, they told 6 of them, you're great, you're only going to get better. And they took the other 6 and they said, you're crappy and you're only going to get worse. And it turns out they did accordingly, save for one of these deviant outliers, and that one always just fucks up the numbers. And that's cool. I love the deviants. Yeah, I'm also a deviant. My favorite people are usually the deviants, just because they don't feel okay anywhere else. And so that's the ones that I find, because either they stick out like a sore thumb, or they're hiding behind something and they just wanted to be seen the entire time. And I usually find people between burnout and breakthrough. Like, is this person going to explode because they overdid it? Or are they going to maybe succeed so amazingly and they just need someone to see them and just give them that little, boost? And
What is success?
Success really depends on what the expectation was placed. So that's one of the biggest things is I believe that anyone who wakes up is a success. However, most people don't. And that's one of the biggest things that I've been working on changing is our definitions of value, our definitions of success, our definition of acceptable. Turns out that we don't celebrate our everyday the way that someone would mourn our loss in the world. And why is that? It's actually super ridiculous, because when someone shows up, we want them to show up. However, there's so many times where someone finally shows up for us and we're like, finally you showed up, which means they'll never freaking do it again, because they're going to learn from that experience that it didn't feel good to show up. If we want people to show up, we should reward them for showing up, for doing what we want them to do, because they did it, champ. They did it.
So you a fan of high fives?
I don't really, people touching, it depends on if it's consensual high-fivery. There's a lot of peer pressured high fives that don't go very well, because then you have to redo it and you have to look at the elbow and what I really believe is a success is when someone is able to see themselves as success. Because I'm not in charge of anyone else, not my circus, not my monkeys. The circus of cells and all the monkeys and tigers and all the crap that I have going on in here is already too much for me. I don't expect even my ways to appeal to another person. What I'm doing is just being, and hopefully if I can be and show up as stable, grounded, fully embodied as I can when I meet someone else, maybe they can pick up good skills, behaviors, understanding, love, and walk away from the situation better than they were before. Really, I find that my life is more damage control. And that's okay too, just to make sure that I don't damage someone else. And it's preventative damage control. So walking into...
I don't even think that's in your control, honestly.
No, true.
Because you can say no matter what you can say, somebody can be offended by it.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah. You don't even have the intention to it, but the person just perceives it that way.
I will also argue, though, that if somebody is offended by someone being a good person in front of them, they probably deserve to be offended, and hopefully they're going to recalibrate themselves. So murmuration in swarming animals, in birds, bees, fish, they have this metal plate that allows them to feel either the electromagnetic frequency or the distance between other of their fleet or flock or swarm, and it allows them to move as one like synchronous unit, and that's why you can see these beautiful patterns. But the cool thing is about that is the way I say it is you just don't step on the dick of your buddies. Like, you have to give enough space, and this is one thing that I have a hard time with because I keep like just always whacking walls, so my murmuration is a little bit off even in my own house. But giving space from wingtip to wingtip plus buffering in graphic design is called white space or like empty space, right? It's so that someone can pivot, so it can recalibrate in the sky without taking out the birds around it. It's you know, when you watch a bike race and they all pile up, bad murmuration was involved in that one. There was a study in 2015 that said that if all the vehicles left more space around them, traffic jams would be reduced by like 50%. 50% if we just gave each other a little bit more space just to be. And
you save gas though if you're really close, like in a race, like in a car race, like
because you get a little bit of lift.
You know? You like right next to, like behind this. It's a draft thing.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of downdraft, the whiff, and then that's again geese do that. Hey goose, they just have proper ability. But if we also change the way that the cars were situated, you wouldn't have to go right or behind it. You could also go to a diagonal, I believe, and still catch the same kind of lift off the wing off of it. I don't know. That might not be real. I've just been looking at a lot of strange science things and speculating. So far, not too many people tell me I'm wrong, but there's a lot of really quiet, shy people who don't want to tell each other when they make mistakes, which goes back to that whole sandwich method compliment thing. And it's hard to give a constructive critique of another, especially.
I don't know. I think it depends again on the other person, doesn't it?
It's a mixed bags of Trixies for sure.
Why don't you critique me? You tell me, Michael, this I really don't like about you.
I don't know you well enough. Give me. And the thing is, once I become a friend with somebody, I'm like a purposeful asshole, because most of my friends can kind of take it. They've seen me dish it before. I've taken a lot of guff from those I love.
If you dish it out, you gotta take it.
And that's sport for me. Like, I try to be as nice as possible because I know that most people do better with, positivity. It's actually really good for our immune systems as well. Crazy enough. So people can cure cancers in themselves just by believing that they do. There's cymatic healing methodology where monks will like circle this woman, and right? Even me, like, I'm trying to say it, I'm just like, oh, this feels weird to say it, but like the what's a MRI machine? What's all of these things is just
it's a big donut.
It is a big donut, but a big donut of whoomp whooms that spins around you, and then it can see with where that whoomp whoomp sound stops.
Have you seen what they inject into you before they put you in there? Like this big tube. Oh, you have signed this, and then they just like.
I'm needle phobic. It's okay. It's okay. Like, this is why I do things live, because sometimes people find it amusing to watch natural expressions of detestation to needles. And a lot of my work is just being authentic and being okay with being authentic so that other people can show up in their authenticity as well. I've heard many times with, how chaotic my space was, is, well, Kaylee, you make me feel okay. And it took me a long time to even be okay with hearing that, because it was like, my translation of that was, well, your life is such a tragedy that it makes my life look way better. And that wasn't necessarily what they were trying to say. I'm sure part of it was accurate, but it was because I was still existing at the base level, so that other people who have always tried so damn hard, who have overextended themselves time and time again, realize that they've been okay the entire time and that they should have never been that hard on themselves, because it actually doesn't do them any favors. being hard on ourselves, telling ourselves that we should do something is just shoulding all over ourselves. And that is one of my favorite ways to say it. It's like, you shouldn't should all over yourself. Don't rub your face with feces, right?
I want to do it.
Well, enjoying the process, right?
Yeah.
Instead of I should do it, is I take joy in...
It's like I have to do it because I want to do it.
Even the have to is almost too much pressure sometimes. I find that you might be mean on yourself. I'm just going to let you know. You could be... Try the 5.6 positives.
Because I have no hair. It fell all out because I'm so mean to myself.
You know, it could have. But it's really weird what happens to our bodies when we put so much stress.
Yeah. In German it's called Geheimratsecken, which means like secret cut corners when you have like recessing hairline on the top.
Secret cut corner. I think I have secret cut corners. Look at, I got that.
I don't know.
They're secret because I got so much bang. All I know in German. Oh no, I think that's Dutch. So I can't remember my German.
Dutch sounds like the same. If we don't say, then nobody will know.
It's kankerap. Cancer's ape. That's Dutch. That was a good one. But I was actually studying German. Have you ever tried Duolingo?
Yeah, I did.
It's fun. See, this is why gamification for the standard, boring, everyday, normal stuff is a great alternative to telling ourselves that we have to do it because we should do it. Instead, we get a shiny little point.
I understand. But, like, for me, it's like... Maybe it's an obsession. But it's a good obsession. It makes me happy.
It could be masochistic, for sure. Sometimes we hate ourselves so much that we can force ourselves into doing something that we know is good for ourselves. Which is really feisty. I love that. I'm really good. I try to do it as a self-punishment. So if I let myself down, I catch back up by doing my guitar, doing my karaoke, doing my weights. Even now when something triggers me, like a gun, like I'm going to go and I'm going to do the things that it's supposed to trigger inside me. So in a lot of cases when I was triggered before, I would, need to eat food, or, smoke a cigarette, or, placate the beast inside me. And I'm just like, oh, someone pissed me off? I'm going to do weights about it. Strength. And that actually, and then if you congratulate yourself after that, that is a muscly way just to get through what woes you. So instead of the woe is me, it's like, whoa, it's me. And you just get to it. And this is how you make one of those 80s montages. You're just...
Is that like using the dark side?
Yeah, you should use your dark side. You should use your dark side and your light side. I find that anytime that I have an emotion that is instigated from outside of myself, it's usually bait. I call that bait because it's baiting me into either being all enamored with this cute boy who seems to like me, and then I flit off and I don't do anything good because maybe he's my Prince Charming. Not usually. Just for my record keeping, so far, not usually. Or when someone angers me, I deserve this pile of ice cream to deal with that. And really, that's exactly the opposite of what I wanted to do if I was angry. If I was angry, why aren't I going to work out? Why aren't I putting that into something that will feed back into me for later so that it'll give me more power? And weirdly enough, our emotions are one of the only things that we even get to control in our body. And it sucks.
There's more to control than emotions, huh?
Like what?
Breathing.
Do you really control your breathing, or does it just kind of happen mostly automatically?
You can control your breathing.
You can control it.
Yeah.
You can, for sure. But like, it's a lot of that...
Meditation is controlling your mind.
Which one? What is?
Meditation.
Yes. Yeah, okay, so, do you meditate?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of meditation do you do? This is really curious for me.
I just lay down.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
You just relax. Just let it go. So I do something called transcendental meditation. Have you ever heard that?
Sounds fancy.
It's not even. It's way easier than anything else. I'm lazy. Here's the thing about me. The reason I had to do all these things was because I am a lazy asshole who doesn't want to do anything. I'm feisty. I trick myself in and out of all the things I'll do. And as soon as I set an intention, almost everything in the universe is like, bitch, no, you're not going to get that. I'm like, fuck, really? Again? Jesus. So I almost have to like sneaky tricks my way into healing, betterment, self-understanding, respect. Self-advocacy was something I had to even trick myself into because I almost told myself that I wasn't allowed to have a voice because my voice was so annoying to other people. You know? It just happens. And a lot of it is an artistic trait, you know, if you're disabled or if you're struggling. Or, you know, I was 337 pounds. I was the fat girl that had to be funny to have friends. Because otherwise I didn't feel like I could even sit down beside people on a city bus because I was too big and I would spill over into their lane. So, you know, one of the biggest things I had to do was just be okay with being. And it was a sick, difficult process for me because I had to, what's called like ego death a few times. Because our ego wants to keep us a victim. Our ego wants to have our story be the story that just is, when our story is one of many stories, of one of many perspectives, and our stories that we tell ourselves aren't even necessarily real. So our brains, when we have a memory, it's not actually the original memory. It's the last retelling of that memory. So it's what you told yourself, what you told someone else, and that's why pathological liars can pass lie detector tests.
Oh, yeah.
Bird brains twist trauma.
In particular, but like that our perception over time of a certain circumstance changes in our favor.
It always in our favor, but it depends on, so it's like a Word document. This is how I usually articulate it. So if you wrote a poem back in grade 7, wrote that poem, and then every year you open that poem and you looked at it over and you're like, no, I can make that poem better. And, you know, every year that poem shifts. And so the last save of that poem will count as true in our memory. So it's really important, what I like to say is back data, assets up, and rebooty. Because you need to look at what the actual truth...
Say that one more time, but a little bit slower.
Back data, assets up, and rebooty.
Okay.
Yep. Back data, assets up, back data, assets up. What?
Hit enter now.
Yes, yeah, and really look at it, because we have the stories, but we need to take the morals from our stories. What is the important stuff that you want to take forward? And it's not that person hurt my feelings. It's maybe instead, maybe I shouldn't have given that person so much responsibility, so much trust, so much of myself that they could have ever hurt me in the beginning. Not necessarily like, oh my God, I should be so protected and never trust anyone ever again, which is very much a lesson that a lot of people have taken from their stories.
It's hard. Some people never want to get married again.
Very true. Very true. However, the most important thing is to look at your role in that situation and how you could have amplified it for better. So that 5.6 positive to any negative is actually the magic ratio to save marriages, surprisingly enough. Is literally poor.
You gotta have to put that in, like, in every single everybody. Supposedly there's more breakups now since ever before. You hang out with your better half suddenly more than ever.
I actually think that COVID is actually just us being so negative to each other that we have caused the dis-ease. So no longer being at ease. I am not at ease.
I think it's the opposite. I think COVID has actually brought us all closer.
Yes and no. I think as neighbors, as cities, in Thunder Bay, yes. I would say in Thunder Bay, yes, as a community and everything, we have come a lot closer. However, sometimes when we get too close, we get a little sharp with each other. We get a little critical because, again, that murmuration, that space between the other animals isn't a proper distance away. You know, it's like betta fish in a tank. If you put two betta fish in a tank and they don't have enough space, they're going to fight each other.
I don't know about that, you know? I've thought about those things before, but I mean, ultimately, I wish it would be possible to come along with everybody.
To what?
To come along with everybody, you know?
I think it is.
I think it should be possible.
I think it totally is possible for us to be able to do this. And actually, that's part of so there's Soho. It's self-organizing holonic organizations. So that's part of the game that I'm actually bringing in. Is
you know what you need to do? You need to you know how they have that in the military or in wherever, in when you're programming language.
Yes.
They have like short forms for all the long sentences of words. That's what you need to do.
Is short form.
This is my constructive criticism.
I don't know if there's short forms for some of the weird
things.
things.
Throwing out those words, and they're amazing. But it's like, you should just say 4 letters and then explain what it means. That would be like.
So.
Then you're a scientist.
I'm actually kind of working on a few of the sciences because I'm thinking about trying to make this into what's like a quantum community. So, looking at how we work as a unit. Like a singular unit, a node or whatever, and then how do we work with those around us and encouraging just slightly better behaviors. When you ask a question, it's like, why is the world so shitty? You're going to think about all the reasons the world is so shitty. Our brains are great. We're very creative. But instead of asking, why is the world so shitty, is asking, how can I make the world a better place? What already is sitting here in the world around me that I love, that I can encourage more of? What is it missing that I can add to it? What am I doing personally? And am I supporting those around me so that they can become better? And I try to do 6, so I'm just going to throw another one. It's like, how can I have supported someone better in the past, and maybe can I go back and fix it up? And that's why the 5.6 is difficult, because by the 6th one I usually get a little salty. So I document the 0.4 over to human error because I always make that one a little sloppy at the end.
I let the past go.
The past. But the past is the past, but that's how we echo the past sometimes too, right? Because if it's just oh, let the past go, then we do the same thing in the past that we did in the past. I find that if we take the moral from the story, so what did we learn? What was the important thing that made the past the past? And is it a whole bunch of good things that I want to see again? Is it something that didn't go so well that I should red flag and then bring it for future potential and awareness? I always find the past is for sure the past. I try to let it go with peace and all that, because someone told me once that what is not made for you will not inside you. So letting energy through and pass, like water off a duck's back, just letting the energy through you as a conduit, retaining and putting it into whatever you can, and then whatever is not made for you that doesn't feel good, just let it go. And that's when the past is the past. Is just gone with the wind kind of thing. So making sure that you just are conscious with what you decide to take and what you decide to let past. Because a lot of people will take sadness, worry, and they'll keep it in their tummy, and then out pops cancer or an ulcer or something else, because we feel so full of awful that we are no longer at ease. We are diseased with the universe around us. So if we just meditate and just be ourselves, be fully embodied, is one of the best ways. So transcendental meditation is just kind of marrying the mind, body, and spirit. So for me, it's the looking at a color, smelling a smell, breathing, tasting.
What's the difference between mind and spirit? I apologize, I interrupt you.
No, you're great.
I'm truly listening to what you just said, and I'm trying to break this down. Mind, body, and spirit.
Spirit is, in my opinion, and again, this is something where I believe that everyone will have their own kind of feeling. Mind is usually, in my opinion, the critical mind, that naggy, you should do, have you thought about this, have you done this, da-da-da. And the mind is usually either in the past or the future. If it's in the past, sometimes it's depressed and just assembling data sets that goes, oh, you're gonna fuck up, oh, you fucked up this, sadness. And in the future, it just has anxiety. It's like, oh, did you think about this? Did you pack this? Are you able to do this? Do you think that's actually very wise? And if you bring yourself to...
What about the now?
Here we are. Right in the now, I'm looking at stuff. I'm just processing. I'm processing what's right in front of me. And in the now, we're usually okay. That's why meditation feels so good when you just zomp out. Because, Eckhart Tolle actually says, when someone asked him, he's like, Eckhart, I'm really depressed. What am I supposed to do? He goes, have you tried dying? And it's like, what? Excuse me. But like, have you just tried to pretend that you're dead? Because I find, and he found, or people find, that if you're holding on to this concept and you're like almost playing the victim where like, I should have gotten this, or why wasn't this person nice to me, or why didn't this happen the way it should, we're holding on to this idea of what should have been instead of what really is. And what really is this amazing opportunity to exist that we wouldn't have had otherwise. Because once we die, the world keeps going without us. We are very insignificant in the grand scale of things. We're just really significant to our own minds. So our mind is that beautiful central computing unit that just goes beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, assembling data, loading, processing, error. Where the spirit I find comes out in song, in dance, in weird sounds.
One moment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You can dive back into the spirit right away. I just want to really say, always live.
Yes.
Thank
you.
Live.
Thank you. Always live. Yeah.
Yeah. No matter what, always live.
That gave me a shiver. So that was very important. I'm pretty sure that probably came from a place of hardship. And thank you very much for saying that, because like I feel like shivers all over my body. And usually that when I do tarot readings for people, when I feel shivers like that, it feels like that's like, I don't know, someone's grandmother coming and saying, "Did you hear that? Make sure they hear that." And
my grandmother always said, "Take another spoon, take another spoon." In German, Nachschlag, Nachschlag,
Nachschlag, Nachschlag. Okay, I might use that one once in a while. My one nanny, she was called Nanny, but she was my grandmother. She would say, "Have a happy day," like it was a choice. And then my other grandmother used to say, "You can either do it or you can cry and do it." And this is where I get my balance. So it's like, have a happy day, but you better do it, because you can do it or you can cry and do it. So like I have like the full spectrum of being from my grandmothers, I find. So was it Nachschlag?
Nachschlag. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
You should be like an AI voice over.
Thank you. I've been working on that too. So my personal video game that I'm working on myself is voice acting, singing, guitar, working on the spirit, working on my soul, working on what actually keeps me going on the regular.
So it's like a simulation? You're working on a simulation?
I think we're already in the simulation. Have you heard about the ancestor simulation theory?
Oh boy, we're going deep. Turn on.
It's a weird one. Actually,
Okay. Let's stop. Let's go back first into the spirit, because I would like you to conclude the explanation on that, and then we can dive into the simulation, if you're okay with that.
Oh no, that's great. I don't know. You know what? I think that I have a transition for this. I think.
Please give it up.
I think spirit is almost the ghost in the machine in a way.
Okay.
Is that Mandelbrot set, if you will. The Mandelbrot set is like a series of fractal patterns that will go forever, and it stumps mathematicians and pisses them off, and it's kind of like the God element in the machine, or the Alice, and it weirds people out. And it's, who knows what the soul is. I think it was like, what, 2.6 ounces or something when you pass away, that weight leaves your body. So, you know, the spirit does have a little bit of girth to it.
Well, we don't know, but there is a difference in the body weight the moment the person dies.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and that's
a very small shift. I have heard about that.
Yeah, it weirds me out. That kind of stuff, absolutely. But I love it. So I don't know what the spirit is, but I'm glad that I was allowed to have one. That's kind of where I sit with it, and I'm really excited to see the spirit of others, and that's what I love the most.
You draw a difference between the mind and the spirit.
Yes. For sure. Well, some people have multiple mind voices, even. So there's things like dissociative identity, or like multiple personalities, or whatever, and people have voices too. So there's a whole bunch of things that could be going in the mind into the processing, and I find one of the best ways for me to at least find and make peace with my spirit is I just listen to the ones that are on my side. I find that one, those are the ones that I want to keep around. So I've been working very hard on just asking the universe to provide me a good, inner voice, inner monologue. Some people don't even have one. No, some people don't even have an inner monologue, period. So They're
There's nothing wrong with that.
no.
It's okay.
No, it's some people have multiple, some people have a quiet brain, and everything is very unique. And this is why I find that the more that we allow people to have their own realities and not judge them, utilize that motivational interviewing, utilize that sense of compassion and empathy to allow them to show up with their full spectrum of being, whatever that might look like, we get to learn more about ourselves and others and the totality of a society with small, random acts of kindness, especially for ourselves first. Because I find that if we bring ourselves into a stillness, so like water surface, you know, you can rock the boat, you can make waves, whatever, but when you provide that stillness, that depth, it becomes a mirror surface, and then people can see you and see themselves in you and maybe take what they need to. And if they're really narcissistic, they can drown in it. It's cool. Right? Because if somebody is a little nefarious or whatever, if you sit there and you just listen to them and care about them and ask them relevant questions and, you know, hold space for it, most people kind of show their true colors really quickly. Especially in that projectionist mentality. So if somebody consistently picks apart everyone around them, they're probably picking apart themselves at the same time. So, you know, sitting back with this perspective and not taking things personally, even though we can't, you know, have someone else not take things personally, we can make sure that we don't amplify negative waves. And that's difficult.
So you learning to give zero fucks.
Yeah. No, actually, I think I try to give the right amount of fucks to the right places so that the fuck garden can grow aplenty. Because
what does that mean?
I am the sower and seeder of fuckery, probably. Just
meaning, like when I say I don't give a fuck, I mean I don't care.
Yeah. I try to care all the time, but realize that not everyone appreciates my brand of caring, and to be aware of to know my audience is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah.
So, you know, when somebody asks for my care, I try to provide it to them because at that point they need it. If somebody is doing things and they are an unsung hero in the ranks, that's where I'll apply my fucks, because that's where my fucks are needed. I want to make sure that that person continues on being awesome. And there's so many times where we see somebody who's just out there crushing it. Absolutely just like fucking giving her. And we're like, oh, they're giving her. They must be fine. They're just giving her. And realistically, sometimes that is one of the saddest calls for help you'll ever frickin' see. Because they are giving her. They're setting themselves on fire to keep everyone else warm. And he should say, hey buddy, you kept me warm at least. Thanks for keeping me warm with your goddamn fire. Because otherwise the fire goes out.
There's this story about a bird. I don't know if you're familiar with the story about a bird. That's the most beautiful singing bird in the world. No, in the area where the bird sings. And it sings every morning, all day, and then everybody else, all the other birds say, come on, one more song. And then at nighttime they do it again. And eventually the bird dies. and end of story. Yeah. So that came to my mind what you just said.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly, you know, and that's like almost like the phoenix, right? The phoenix would just like light itself afire.
Oh, the phoenix comes back.
And that's what we need to do, is make sure our phoenixes come back, our singing birds come back. So we need to let it rest. We need to realize when it's sparking out, when it's going supernova, and say, you're fucking beautiful, bird, but you're allowed to take a rest. Make sure you're living for yourself, good bird. Because otherwise things will go the way of the dodo. But guess what? Did you hear the dodo came back?
Dodo? It's like the Pokemon that just pretends anybody can be, right?
Oh, that's Ditto.
Oh, okay.
And there's a Dodrio. I know too much. Okay, I really like video games. But the dodo bird was this flightless bird that existed, and then it went extinct because everyone was like, "Oh, the dodo bird's dumb." Da da da.
Is that the one with the huge eggs in Australia?
I think so. I don't know too much about the dodo bird, but all I know is that the two birds that made the dodo had sex again, so the dodo came back. I'm so proud of that dodo bird.
Okay, it's like the horse and the donkey, and then you have the horse and when the horse makes out with somebody else, then you get a donkey, right?
Oh.
Is that how it goes?
I don't know, but it's good.
Just throwing things out here tonight.
That's super good. Did you know that assholes are really good in the desert? So donkeys will go out to the desert and they'll dig a big hole, and then that hole allows other animals to drink water in the desert. So assholes, great in the desert. But that's
Did you know sheep drown?
Sheep drown?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure most animals do, except for fish.
No. Well, supposedly sheep, they do. But the other way around.
What?
Yeah. I don't know who told me this once, but I don't know if it's even true, but I believed it because that person sounded so smart. And ever since then, I've just retold that story, and that's my simulation.
And you know what? So going back to health and placebo effects and stuff like that, yeah, we pick up triggers and tricks and emulations. Humans learn via mimicry and emulation. How did you learn how to say mama? Because your parents were like, say mama, go mama, mama, and then you're like, oh, for crying out loud, okay parents, mama, right? I said it, love me now. And then we give them good feedback and they do it more. And it's the same reason why cats cry the way they do, because they hear humans talking and they're like, I can kind of go meow, meow, and then they're like, oh crap, human fed me. Cool. I'm going to be really annoying this time. I'm going to turn that up. So, learning and picking up almost like computer viruses. So I believe that the COVIDiots, that word, is actually one of the COVID variants. I'm pretty sure that's because we just started being so mean to each other that people in our societies decided that their bodies are just going to fall apart because they don't belong anymore. So I find that Thunder Bay is an amazing city because we are actually a little bit nicer to each other just because we have the distance.
I think people are really, sometimes people really get hurt a lot and they're very frustrated and it's hard. And it's like a moment of maybe of giving up, sometimes, but the life goes on.
Yeah.
It's very hard for a lot of people. I think, life on Earth is not easy.
Never has been. And that's why I really believe in that 5.6 positive standing negative. I've been using it. So it works really well as like an improv skit. So when you're being attacked, if someone's saying something super negative at you, I find going, first and foremost, instead of going like, no, you're wrong. As soon as you say, no, you're wrong, they're not going to listen to you. They can't hear you anymore after that point because they think that you're wrong because you just told them that they're wrong. And obviously they must be right, so you must be wrong.
Let me stop you there for a second.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about people that just don't engage? That just leave it as it is. It's okay.
Oh, it depends on how they internalize that. Are they doing it to save their own peace? Because that other person won't ever understand? Then kind of fine. I understand that. Why would you bother engaging with somebody who isn't listening likely from the get-go? But if you're sacrificing your own truth, so if you're, instead of dealing with this battle or this war in front of you, you take that battle inside yourself and churn it around, again, that's how you get sick. That's how you're going to get stress, ulcers, cancers, bad juju in your guts. So that's how you're just going to have like diarrhea. Your gut, your stomach. Your tummy has 200,000 neurons in it, the same as a cat or a dog brain. So your gut is way more protective of you than your top brain is, I find, at least personally in my situation. My gut has never steered me wrong. My gut has tried to tell me so many things. I'm just like, gut, you're just upset for no good reason.
So the belly is first drunk and then the brain?
Could be. Could actually be.
You take a shot of Jägermeister, right?
Whoa. Dude. You might have actually, that might be real. That might be super real because maybe that's why being drunk makes you so promiscuous because it shuts down your, like, defense brains. You're like, I'll fuck that. No problem.
All right, let's talk about, you brought this up, you threw this into the room, in this room and your room and your show and my show, you know, the simulation, what?
Oh, the ancestor simulation.
Do you believe that the world is what?
And I don't know what the world is. I don't think I'm ever gonna know what the world is. The closest thing that I believe it is like, what if we all have our own universes that we believe and see? and then the rest of the world is just kind of the accepted bits in between. Because I love the idea of like spooky action at a distance is what they call like quantum effects. So they don't explain why two atoms could be entangled on either side of the world, but sometimes if one does something, the other one will do something in tandem.
And why do things behave differently when you observe?
Oh my god, who wants to act the same unless they know that they're being watched? I'm basically like Schrodinger's cat. Like, I don't know if I'm alive or dead or what I'm doing on a good day. This is why I had to start tracking it down. I had to start observing myself just to realize what was happening. And that's actually a lot of people with blackouts and stuff like that have to start tracking that kind of stuff. And then they realize that they actually have like maybe multiple spirits inside them. So that's what schizophrenia sometimes has been likened to, or dissociative identity is like literally like almost like a phase in, phase out of different people. And it's a trauma response sometimes. If somebody has major trauma for the age of 8, sometimes they have almost like protector figures or other.
It fucks up the brain.
Yeah, it actually protects the brain, which is the coolest thing.
I think it's changed the chemistry of everything in the brain. If you have trauma in your childhood, it's just like.
Well, it wipes things to protect us. So I think I said this earlier, but bird brains twist trauma. So when a bird flies into a window, its brain goes, whoop, didn't happen. And the same thing happens to us when
why they always fly in my chimney union.
The same freaking bird?
I don't know, they all look the same.
Speciesist. No, so and that's the same thing with us, and that's why when we say, oh, the past is just the past, but we echo that same mistake over and over again because we have these muscle memory behaviors that if we don't address with true eyes and find what we actually want to take forward from that, we're going to kind of echo over and over again because we're used to that behavior. Trauma bonding is something like this. So like the way that your parents taught you what love looked like, you're going to seek in your partners. And that's why sometimes our parents don't necessarily train us the right way because their love is you listen to your parents and you go to your room, and then we go and we find a partner that tells us to listen to them and go to our room, and then we don't like that because we want to have self-determination, self-advocacy, to self-govern, but then we keep going after these people that take us down. And it's so strange until we actually start analyzing with true eyes, start taking notes, writing things out to see what actually is happening. And is that what I think it is? And is that what I want for the future me?
Mm-hmm. I like when you explain solutions.
Thank you. I think we all should be explaining more solutions because there's a lot of times where we've been trapped in, again, what we were doing. And that's understandable. We were built to do that. However, the solutions are really hard to find. And that's why I like making mistakes all the time. And with my live stream, when I do the dice roll, it's usually I come on and I say, what did we learn? And I try to make a listing of things that I've learned since the last episode. Because that is what I always heard, Kayla, don't do this, don't do that, you're bad for this, that's horrible, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then I said going, holy crap, what am I allowed to do? Anything? Am I allowed to be? And in a fear mind, it activates our amygdala, which is our lizard brain mode, which is fight, flight, I think fawn, and there's another one that has been listed as well. And these are all behavioral instances. So unless you get your muscle memory and that's also your vocal muscle memories, your physical muscle memory, whatever, to align to what you need to do, which usually requires lots of practice, lots of failure, lots of self-rewarding, we can get ourselves, again, echoing that awkward loop that just sits us with our self-judgment. So I had to really look at how to break out of that fear mind and go to actually the win-win wonder mind that we have when we're children. Because when a baby takes a step, everyone's like, baby step it, baby step it. But have you ever seen a freaking baby take a step? They don't step properly. They'll sometimes step to the side. They step with their hand. They step by falling into it and going, meh, meh. And they're like, what the fuck is this? What is this world? And then they go, They stand back up and they reach out for the next thing. And they fall into that next step anyhow. But the biggest thing is they fall. They bounce because they're like babies or some sort of weird rubber, apparently. I've never made children. I'm probably never going to make children because I'm like, oh yeah, babies bounce. That's obviously not great. But they come back and they're like brand new again. They're like, what the hell is all this shit? And then they keep reaching for what gives them joy because it's shiny. And they weren't taught that you don't deserve what gives you joy. They're going to touch that red hot element because they don't realize fire's hot yet. That's why they need adults. So if we can be our own child and our adult and protect ourselves when we take our next baby step and congratulate ourselves for like, oh my God, you almost walked! We're more likely to walk in the future.
All right. So one more question on that then. So is this what life is about then for you? What do you think life is about? This is a heavy question at the end here.
I love it.
It's the hour already, but like now you dropped it.
Yeah, I think life for me is how quickly I can keep getting back up from failures and making sure that I keep rolling with the punches, because it has done me so many benefits to accept the fact that I'm going to fail. I'm going to make mistakes on the regular, and the biggest thing I can do with this is to learn what I can do for next time to not make that mistake, and the second is to leave a breadcrumb trail so that either I can follow myself back or someone else can maybe like follow me to where I went. And maybe that I might find candy house, hopefully without a witch that wants to eat me. But, you know, find, be found, and leave a trail behind you so that someone else can maybe find themselves as well. Because again, I don't have the ability to tell someone or the want to tell someone how to live their life and who they are and all that kind of stuff. But if me living my truth allows them to find their truth any faster, I feel like that's all that I can do. And if I get to party and have fun and learn and play and, you know, have games and make weird artwork like this in the art interim, it looks like weird flower muscles.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I just love to do is do workshops with people and be there with that and just help them with like a loving hip check so that they can recalibrate a little bit faster and just try to hold space.
Okay.
It's kind of what you do.
It's like you inspire people to find themselves, and also like this is just like really breaking it down.
Yeah.
And then just like also helping.
Yeah.
And then having a good time.
Yeah, and that's again Neona, right? So I just try to light people up with confidence and illuminate the path before them so they can take their next best step forward. We're all just we're all just walking each other home. I don't know where you live, you don't know where I live, but I will walk you as long as our path is shared for as long as I can and make that safe, warm, welcome, and knowing that we're all going to go somewhere else at the end.
Okay. I love it. This is great. Ooh, we did it.
Woo! See?
Were you mad at me?
No.
Come on, tell me. It's been so long. I've tried to book you in earlier, but it
This
never
is
happened.
the best. No, I want to do this again. We're going to have to maybe do another one where I actually just like straight up grill you a little bit more because I just talked the entire time. But you did teach me some stuff just by making sure to ask me to drill in questions. So that's another thing, is just asking yourself even to specify what your reality looks like. So you actually helped me a lot figure out some things today. And you even gave me some shivers. So that was a good aether trigger.
I truly appreciate you being on tonight. It's been my honor, and you know, I'm glad we made this happen. And we link it all up, and I'm on Twitch now with you. Woo!
Yay! And then so can you do a quick shout out, because I'll also be putting this on YouTube, for where people can find you, because you're great and an asset.
Don't worry about it.
No. What's it? YouTube. So it's the MissNeona show.
The MissNeona, but that's okay. You know, I thought you do Twitch. It's all good. You do you.
It's all live, and so Twitch automatically sends it to YouTube for me. So I live stream on Twitch, and then I just send her over.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I will take us off the air now, and you should do the same. And then I just have to quick follow up for you, and